I'm Charlie Dov Schön. I am a textile and found object artist. I studied art and environmental science, and my work often exists at those intersections. I'm specifically really interested in data-based weaving, feminist textiles, and scientific visualization. With that being said, here's a very comprehensive diagram of my practice for you all. I really like it when my work exists at this intersection of art and science that I like to characterize as ritual and noticing things. Right here. To be a little bit more specific, this is the broader web that I envision my work existing in, this sort of ecosystem between the natural world, textiles, women's work, my sort of faith and Judaism, different animals, remote sensing. But to keep things simple, we're going to stick with this. So I'm going to begin speaking a little bit about rituals and noticing things at the level of the personal, and then I'll expand and get toward the level of the landscape and geography. So this piece is called 4 Preceding Sundays. It was an experiment I ran on myself over the course of this past February. So I sewed the transparent shirt. I actually have an example. Jasmine, would you mind tossing that around? It's tulle. It's the same fabric that they make like tutus out of for ballet dancers. And I just really love how it floats and it allows you to contain things. So there's 23 pockets sewn onto that piece, and it can hold things within it. So I sewed this shirt with 30 pockets, one for every day of the month, and then set myself this particular methodology for how it had to be filled. So every day of the month of February, I had to pick up one piece of ephemera from my life and put it within the pocket. It had to be small enough to fit within the pocket, and I had to find it outside of my home. So it was sort of part of this journey of my day. And it ultimately resulted in this wearable month. So it's a time-based piece that can be worn on the body. So sort of the weight of my time can be felt and embodied. It was this exercise in noticing the most minute. Another personal data piece is this weaving that I conducted. This is weaving of personal data, tracking my menstrual cycle. So days of blood are in pink, days of not blood are in the much lighter transparency sort of pink. This is actually made out of, you know, like loofahs that you scrub yourself with in the shower. This is made out of loofah thread, like that very thin nylon. So it has this really lovely transparency in the way that the light strikes it. And I think often in my own training in environmental science, we were taught that data has to be depersonalized in order to be legitimate or useful. And in my art practice, I like to push back against that and say, what is the most intimate data that I can portray? What is the most aesthetic and still readable graph that I can create? I also think that this resulting weaving, and it's not very big, it's probably about the size of my computer, kind of looks like strata, like, you know, bedrock mythology. And there's something really interesting to me relating personal time to geologic time in that particular way. If you can't tell, my environmental science background is pretty heavy on the geo. So now I'm going to move on to ritual and noticing things at the scale of the landscape and at the scale of geography. So this is a project that I did way back in undergrad and was one of my first forays into this art science mashup in my work. So this piece is named for the GPS coordinates of my home back in Massachusetts. And it's a weaving of LiDAR point density data. So you can see the data source there. And LiDAR point density data is, you know, they're sending these lights down and then they're measuring the distance that it takes in between in order to get the topography of the landscape. And this is showing how densely they sampled all of these areas with the laser. And I really strive to track the emotional data traveled with the physical data, so it holds this sort of intimacy within it while also being kind of graphable and measurable. I think there's something really powerful in making a feeling legible in that way. there's this sort of process of discovery and revision, specifically in weaving and these women's work type practices that I think is very similar to the scientific process, right? There's this sort of hypothesis that I have, and then this return and revision and test as I move through the process of creating. This is also quite large. It's probably about 6 feet tall. The type of work of specifically textiles that create datascapes is sometimes called computational textiles, which I really love. And it's this kind of apt return because the original computers were based off of looms, specifically jacquard looms and their punch cards. So there's something really lovely and circular that I like about that. These are 2 other recent projects, just so you can see some more of my work. This piece, A Word Left in a Pocket, is a place I'm excited to continue to move forward with my work. It's a lot of text-based weaving and a way that I can speak maybe a bit more literally rather than just through data. And then this sort of sheer piece works again with the tool that you got to feel. It's 8 feet by 8 feet by 8 feet, so it's pretty big. And it's in the woods out in Concord, Mass, right by Walden Pond. And it's actually a sukkah, which is for the Jewish holiday of Sukkot, which is going to be in about 2 weeks. So come find me, I'll have a celebration planned. But it's the festival of the harvest, and it's really just about measuring the changing seasons, witnessing as the leaves change, at least on the East Coast. I haven't seen it out here yet. And there's over 120 pockets that I sewed into the walls of this sukkah. So throughout the fall, visitors to the forest can fill all of the pockets with the debris, sort of collecting and documenting in this informal way, while also visibilizing the structure. So the piece itself will change and evolve and solidify throughout the fall as a measurement of that season change. All right, well, at Flathead, for the past 4 days, I've been researching some of the geology of the lake and of the surrounding area. So, you can see I'm looking at some of these bedrock lithologies, all of the, fracturing patterns and the different fault lines. I'm hoping to continue my weaving and sewing practice, specifically in relation to personal and environmental data at FLBS. I'm excited to work with map legends, spatial data, and time-based knowledge production. I'm really having a good time diving into the dual meanings of legend, both as this data-based way to read a diagram and also as a story passed down from generation to generation. So you can see in your far left, this kind of edited legend that I took from MassGIS repository, doing some superficial geology key point data, and then reassigning each feature a different word or collection of words, and then allowing the frequency of those features in the data set to create different iterations of poems. So the landscape itself scrambles it, almost like a Mad Lib. I also created this pocket garment 2 days ago. So yesterday was Yom Kippur, which is the Jewish holiday right after the Jewish New Year, in which you're supposed to repent your sins, which isn't my favorite Jewish holiday, but what I really like about it, oh, I'm sorry, is that there's this specific ritual that you do on that day, which is called tashlich. And tashlich is about, you take small stones and you cast them into a moving body of water. So I got here and I saw the beach and I saw the lake and I was like, oh, perfect. So I built the garment that you all were holding. That's what it is in these images. And then I placed a stone in each pocket, and Jasmine helped me film this sort of performance ritual, almost prayer, in which I cast all of the stones into the water as this sort of release of the past year's mistakes and washing clean into the new year. It felt this really wonderful way to start the residency and embody this practice moving forward. So I just want to thank everyone at Open Air and at FLBS. Thank you all for coming, and please come find me. I would love to talk about spatial data and geology and your work and share more of mine, you can find me here. And I really appreciate your time. Any questions? Yes.
I didn't understand this one. That looks like, so that's a LiDAR image on the right?
So it's LiDAR point density data, so it's not
Point density
actually...
data, that's how much the satellite is actually shooting at the Earth?
Exactly, so
Okay,
it's...
so it's not a map of any topography?
Right, it's just showing how much they sampled the topography.
Ah, okay, now I understand it.
Yeah,
Can you tell me the name of that yellow rock out on that beach?
the yellow rock out on the
There's
beach.
all of that yellow rock and it's
Oh,
comes in at an angle.
I did some research. I feel like maybe some of the scientists would be able to know better, but a lot of it was glacial till from what I was able to find. And some of it maybe belonged to the Helena group. Feel free to correct me.
You're talking about on the beach itself?
Yeah.
So that's actually an artificially created erosion control beach.
Okay.
And it is from local gravel pits. So a lot of it has been moved by the glaciers. Our predominant geology here is the belt series overthrust.
Okay.
And it's Precambrian mudstones, and the green ones are Grinnell argillite, and the red ones are the Apicuni argillite. If you go to Glacier, that's the main geology in Glacier, and we're pretty unique in this area because in most places that old rock went underneath and it's gone. The yellow one, the limestone that makes up the point, is called the Algonquin Formation.
Is that what's in west, is that the Yellowstone?
No.
No,
No,
okay.
we're a totally different geology than Yellowstone. This little corner of Montana is one of the only places where the ancient seafloor that's billions of years old went up on top. And most of the places in the Rocky Mountains, that old stuff went underneath and it's totally gone. So it's what makes Glacier pretty unique geologically and why we have significantly low nutrients here, because we've got an underlying geology that's billions of years old. You get to Yellowstone or even to Missoula, you start getting into volcanic geology. We're predominantly sedimentary here, which is great because we've got no minerals that are worth anything, which is why we don't have big mines.
Nice.
Very nice, thank you very much.
Yep.
Wonderful. Thank you all.